Beneath the surface, the salt-tinged air filled Olivia Reed's lungs as she carefully cataloged the day's samples. The small marine research center in Seabrook wasn't much just a weathered building, perched on Oregon's rugged coastline, but it was home. At 32, Olivia had dedicated her life to studying the declining kelp forests that once thrived along the Pacific. Her colleagues respected her work, but the center's perpetual funding crisis meant her research remained painfully limited. Another grant rejection. Dr. Franklin sighed, dropping an envelope on her desk. They said your proposal was interesting, but impractical. Same old story. Olivia's stomach tightened. She'd spent months on that application, believing this time would be different. The kelp forests are disappearing at an alarming rate. Don't. They understand what that means for the entire ecosystem. Foundations want flashy results, not long-term studies. Dr. Franklin's weathered face softened. Maybe your sister's right. A talent like yours could earn triple at a corporate lab. Olivia shook her head. Jessica never understood why she'd chosen this path, living in a rented cottage, driving a 15-year-old car, spending weekends knee-deep in tide pools instead of meeting suitable men at her country club. I'd rather make a difference than make money, she replied, though the words sounded hollow after so many setbacks. That evening, Olivia stayed late, reviewing her rejected proposal. The center would host a small conservation summit tomorrow, their last hope to secure partnerships before funding cuts forced program eliminations. Her presentation needed to be perfect. Morning arrived with unexpected chaos. A sleek helicopter touched down on the nearby field, sending staff scrambling. Harrison Wells, founder of OceanTech Innovations and one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in America, had decided to attend personally instead of sending representatives. He never leaves Silicon Valley, whispered Tanya, the center's coordinator. Why would he come to our little outpost? At 40, Harrison Wells cut an imposing figure, tall, with broad shoulders and penetrating gray eyes that seemed to evaluate everything with clinical precision. His company had revolutionized underwater mapping technology. Though rumors suggested his wealth came at environmental costs, his PR team expertly concealed. Olivia disliked him immediately. She'd seen too many wealthy conservationists who treated environmental causes as trendy accessories. When her turn came to present, technical difficulties struck. The projector failed, leaving her without visuals for her carefully prepared data. I can continue without slides, she offered, heart pounding. Perhaps we should move on, suggested the center's director, clearly mortified. No, Harrison's voice cut through the awkward silence. I'd like to hear Dr. Reed's research. Surprised, Olivia took a deep breath and began speaking from memory about kelp forest degradation, about the critical marine species dependent on these underwater ecosystems, about innovative restoration techniques that needed proper testing. Without slides to hide behind, her passion shone through with unexpected force. When she finished, the room remained silent. Harrison studied her with an unreadable expression. You're suggesting these forests could be regenerated with your methodology? He finally asked, with proper support and time. Yes. Interesting, he made a note. I'd like to discuss this further. Later, as attendees mingled over coffee, Harrison approached her. Your proposal was rejected because you're thinking too small, he said without preamble. Excuse me? The scope. You're looking at localized restoration when you should be developing a scalable model. Irritation flashed through her. Scaling requires resources I don't have. A smile touched his lips. That's about to change. My foundation is establishing a new marine conservation initiative. I need someone who understands these ecosystems at their cores, someone who sees beyond the surface. Olivia studied him cautiously. And you think that's me? I know it is. The question is whether you're willing to partner with someone you clearly decided to dislike before we even met. His directness caught her off guard. I don't you do, he interrupted. But that's okay. I don't need you to like me. You two help save these forests before they're gone forever? As the sun set over the Pacific, Olivia found herself considering an impossible choice. One that would either elevate her work beyond her wildest dreams or confirm her sister's warnings. That idealists like her were destined for disappointment. Tides of change The OceanTech research vessel cut through the morning fog, sleek design a stark contrast to the rugged coastline. 2 months had passed since Harrison's unexpected proposal, and Olivia still couldn't believe she'd accepted. The Kelp Restoration Initiative now had dedicated laboratories, a team of researchers and resources beyond anything she'd imagined possible. "We've mapped the entire degradation pattern," Olivia explained, pointing to the 3D holographic display that hovered above the ship's conference table. "The decline follows a specific thermal pattern that traditional studies missed." Harrison nodded, his expression focused. He'd been surprisingly hands-on with the project, often joining field expeditions despite his packed schedule. Wore practical diving gear instead of his usual tailored suits. Ready to witness their experimental restoration technique firsthand? "The biodegradable anchoring system is ingenious," he commented. "Your design modifications improve the survival rate substantially." "It was Emilio's engineering expertise combined with my biological approach," Olivia corrected, nodding toward her colleague. She'd insisted on building a diverse team rather than working alone. Harrison smiled. "You don't take compliments well, Dr. Reed. I prefer accuracy to flattery, Mr. Wells." Their professional relationship had developed into something unexpected, a partnership of intellectual equals despite their different backgrounds. Harrison challenged her scientifically, pushing her to think beyond academic constraints, while she grounded his technological solutions in biological reality. After the dive, they discovered their experimental kelp plantation was thriving against all predictions. Excitement of this breakthrough led to an impromptu celebration on deck as the sun set over the Pacific. "To saving the ocean, one forest at a time," Harrison toasted, unusually relaxed away from corporate pressures. Later, as the team dispersed, Olivia found herself alone with Harrison at the ship's railing, the moonlight silvering the waves below. "Did you really choose my project?" she asked, the question that had lingered since their first meeting. Harrison was quiet for a moment. "When I was 11, my father lost his fishing business when the local marine ecosystem collapsed from industrial pollution. He never recovered." His voice carried a rare vulnerability. "When I heard you speak not just about the science, but about the communities that depend on these waters, I heard someone who understood what was truly at stake." The personal revelation surprised her. The media portrayed Harrison as a calculated businessman born into privilege, not the son of a struggling fisherman. "The public narrative about me is mostly fiction," he said, seeming to read her thoughts. "It's easier to let people believe what they want." "Is that why you keep everyone at a distance?" says the woman who lives alone in a cottage surrounded by research papers. He countered with a gentle smile. Their laughter broke the tension, and something shifted between them. Recognition of kindred spirits despite their outward differences. The following weeks brought them closer as the project gained momentum. International conservation groups took notice, and preliminary results suggested their technique could revolutionize marine restoration globally. But success brought scrutiny. During a fundraising gala in San Francisco, Olivia overheard a conversation that chilled her excitement. Harrison's pet scientist, a board member's wife, whispered to her companion, "Everyone knows why he funds her little project. Such a predictable midlife crisis trading corporate sharks for a pretty marine biologist." Olivia's cheeks burned. She'd faced academic skepticism before, but this cut differently. Later that evening, Harrison found her on the venue's balcony. "You disappeared," he said, joining her at the railing. "Your board member in the blue tie has an interesting theory about our professional relationship," she replied, trying to keep her voice light despite the hurt. Harrison's expression darkened. "Philip Taylor. He opposed the initiative from the start? Is that common? Opposition to your decisions?" "It is when they don't serve immediate profit margins." Harrison's gaze was steady. "Does it bother you what people think?" Olivia considered lying, then decided against it. "It's not for myself, but for the project. I've fought my entire career to be taken seriously, and we'll have to make our results impossible to dismiss." He hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth, I've never respected anyone's mind more than yours." The simple truth in his words touched her more deeply than any elaborate compliment could have. When his hand covered hers on the railing, neither of them pulled away, As their initiative expanded, so did the whispers. Olivia's former colleagues implied she'd abandoned pure research for corporate funding. Harrison's business associates questioned his increasing personal investment in environmental sentimentality. Yet in the face of this dual scrutiny, they found unexpected strength in each other's company. On a rare day off, Harrison convinced Olivia to explore the coastal hiking trails. Away from laboratories and boardrooms, their conversation wandered to personal dreams, childhood memories, and shared values. When an unexpected rainstorm forced them to take shelter in a small coastal cafe, hours passed unnoticed as they talked. "Never thought I'd say this," Olivia admitted as they watched the storm from the cafe window. "But I'm glad your helicopter landed at our center that day." Harrison's smile reached his eyes. "So am I, Dr. Reed." His hand found hers across the table. "So am I." Storm warnings, the quarterly board meeting at Ocean Tech. Headquarters embodied everything Olivia disliked about corporate culture. 40 stories above San Francisco, executives in identical dark suits discussed the kelp restoration initiative as though it were merely another investment portfolio to analyze. "The publicity value has been substantial," acknowledged Philip Taylor, the same board member whose whispers had stung Olivia months earlier. "However, the resource allocation seems disproportionate to returns. Returns aren't measured only in dollars," Harrison replied, his calm tone belying the tension Olivia sensed beneath. "Perhaps not for personal projects," another director commented with a pointed glance toward Olivia, "but shareholders expect financial discipline." Harrison's jaw tightened. The initiative has already generated 4 patentable technologies with commercial applications. More importantly, it's positioned Ocean Tech as a leader in sustainable marine innovation. The meeting concluded without resolution. The message was clear. Harrison's attention to the initiative and to Olivia was being scrutinized. "They don't understand the potential," Harrison said as they rode the elevator down. "The bioengineering applications alone could revolutionize coastal protection worldwide." Olivia nodded, but uncertainty clouded her thoughts. "Harrison, I need to ask, is the board right? Are you overcommitting resources because of ... personal factors?" He turned to face her, gray eyes serious. "Do you really believe I'd jeopardize a billion-dollar company for personal reasons?" "No," she answered honestly. "But I need to know this project stands on scientific merit, not because of whatever is happening between us." The elevator doors opened before he could respond, and the moment passed. Back at the research center, different challenges awaited. Emilio, once Olivia's strongest supporter, had grown increasingly distant. The Japanese conservation team requested additional data, he informed her coldly. "I've prepared everything except your experimental models, which remain proprietary." "Or not proprietary, just unfinished," Olivia corrected. "We need more verification before sharing preliminary results." "Or perhaps Ocean Tech is planning to patent public research," he suggested. "It wouldn't be the first time a corporation harvested academic work for profit." The accusation stung. "That's not what's happening here." "No." Emilio's expression was skeptical. "You've changed, Olivia. The woman I knew would never have restricted access to research that could help other conservation efforts." His words haunted her through the night. Had she compromised her principles without realizing it? The project was accomplishing more than she'd ever dreamed possible, but at what cost? The following day, a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle contacted her for an interview about the initiative's commercial applications. Something in his question suggested he was fishing for controversy rather than scientific breakthrough. "Suggested you speak with me specifically?" Olivia asked. An anonymous source expressed concerns about conflicts of interest in the initiative, the reporter admitted. "They mentioned your close relationship with Mr. Wells might be influencing scientific protocols." Anger and hurt warred within her. Someone, perhaps Emilio. Perhaps someone from Ocean Tech's board was attempting to undermine the project by attacking her personally. When she confronted Harrison, his reaction surprised her. Rather than the controlled businessman, she witnessed raw fury. "I'll find who's behind this," he promised, already reaching for his phone. "And do what?" she challenged. "Prove them right by having the powerful CEO silence criticism." Their argument escalated. revealing fault lines in their perspectives. Harrison's instinct to protect through control clashed with Olivia's commitment to transparency and independence. "You can't solve every problem by throwing power or money at it," she finally said. "And you can't pretend the world operates on pure idealism," he countered. "Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire." They parted without resolution, the distance between their worlds suddenly seeming unbridgeable. That night, Olivia received an email from Dr. Franklin, her former mentor. "Have you seen this?" The attached link led to an anonymous blog post questioning the initiative's scientific integrity and implying Olivia had falsified data to secure continued funding. The baseless accusation threatened everything: her professional reputation, the project's credibility, and the kelp forests she'd devoted her life to protecting. Worst of all, part of her wondered if Harrison's enemies were using her as a way to get to him. When morning came, Olivia made a painful decision. She would step back from the initiative, recommend another lead scientist, and return to independent research. The work was too important to be tainted by personal complications. She drafted her resignation letter with trembling hands, each word costing her more than the last. As she prepared to deliver it, her phone rang with news that would change everything. A massive oil spill had been detected near their largest restoration site. Personal conflicts would have to wait. The forests they'd spent months rebuilding were now facing destruction. Deeper waters, the Crisis Command Center hummed with urgent activity as reports confirmed the worst. A cargo vessel had struck rocks during a storm, releasing thousands of gallons of crude oil dangerously close to their primary kelp restoration zones. Containment efforts were already underway, but early projections looked grim. "The currents are pushing the slick directly toward Restoration Site Alpha," Olivia explained to the assembled team, her resignation letter forgotten in her pocket. "We have less than 12 hours before contact." Harrison arrived minutes later. Having cut short a meeting in Tokyo and flown back immediately, their personal tension dissolved in the face of environmental emergency. "I've redirected all available ocean tech vessels to assist with containment," he announced. "The prototype oil-eating bacteria we've been developing. Could it help?" Olivia shook her head. "It's untested in real-world conditions. The regulatory approval alone would take weeks." "What if we had approval?" Harrison asked quietly. Their eyes met in understanding. He was offering to use his considerable influence to cut through bureaucratic red tape, the very power she had criticized him for wielding. "The bacteria could save the kelp forests," she acknowledged. "But deploying untested biotechnology could create new problems we can't predict. What does your science tell you is the greater risk?" The question crystallized her dilemma: perfect ethical adherence versus practical action in an emergency. After years of following protocols to the letter, Olivia faced a choice between preserving her principles or preserving the ecosystem she loved. "We need emergency approval for limited deployment," she decided, "but only with transparent monitoring and complete data sharing." Harrison nodded, already making calls. Within hours, through connections that reached government agencies and regulatory bodies, they secured conditional approval for emergency use of their experimental solution. As night fell, they found themselves aboard the primary research vessel, preparing bacterial dispersal equipment as containment teams fought to slow the approaching oil slick. "I found your resignation letter," Harrison said suddenly as they calibrated deployment drones. "It fell from your coat when you were checking equipment." Olivia froze. "This isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," he interrupted. "Before we potentially save or destroy this ecosystem together, I need to know if you're running away afterward." Directness that had first annoyed her now seemed his most honest quality. "I thought it would be better for the project if I stepped back," she admitted. "The rumors, the accusations of bias, so you'd abandon your life's work because of what others might think." Disappointment edged his voice. "I never thought you'd be that easily defeated." His words struck a nerve. "It's not defeat, it's protection. Everything I've worked for is being questioned because of our relationship." "What relationship, Olivia?" Harrison's frustration broke through. "We spent months dancing around whatever this is between us, never actually addressing it." The ship lurched in rough seas, sending them both grasping for support. Harrison caught her arm, steadying her as the moment expanded between them. "I care about you," he said simply. "More than I've cared about anyone in years. But I would never let that compromise the work we're doing." Before she could respond, alarms blared. The oil had reached their perimeters sooner than expected. Personal revelations would have to wait again, through the night. They worked alongside the emergency team, deploying their experimental bacteria at strategic points within the slick. By dawn, preliminary readings showed promising results. Bacteria were breaking down the oil compounds faster than predicted, exhausted. They watched the sunrise from the ship's deck, a cautious hope replacing desperation. "It's working," Olivia whispered, the data tablet in her hands confirming what sensors showed. "The bacterial consumption rate is outpacing the spread." Relief washed over Harrison's features. For a brief moment, he looked younger, the weight of constant control temporarily lifted. He reached for her hand. "We did this together." The simple truth of his words struck her deeply. Throughout her career, Olivia had fought battles alone, convinced that independence was strength. Yet their greatest achievement had come through partnership, his resources and influence combined with her scientific expertise. "I'm not resigning," she said suddenly. "But things need to change." He nodded. "Starting with transparency. Full disclosure of our relationship to the board and research community, with clear protocols for scientific oversight. And you need to stop trying to shield me from criticism," she added. "I've been fighting academic skepticism my entire career. I don't need protection, I need respect." Deal. A smile touched his lips. "Though I should warn, your respect is the least of what I feel for you, Dr. Reed." As the crisis crews continued their work, Olivia and Harrison returned to the command center to brief waiting officials. They entered side by side, no longer pretending their connection was merely professional, yet more committed than ever to the integrity of their work. The oil spill that threatened destruction had instead forced them to confront deeper truths about themselves, about each other, and about the delicate balance between heart and mind that defines not only ecosystems, but human relationships as well. The rising tide 6 months after the oil spill crisis, the Coastal Research Center bore little resemblance to the struggling facility where Olivia had once cataloged samples alone. Now expanded and modernized, it served as headquarters for the International Marine Restoration Coalition, a partnership between academic institutions, conservation organizations, and corporate sponsors with OceanTech as its founding member. The latest satellite imagery confirms kelp regrowth in 14 previously decimated zones, Olivia reported to the assembled board. "Our modified restoration technique has been successfully implemented by teams in Australia, Chile, and Norway." From his seat at the table, Harrison watched with undisguised pride. Their emergency response to the oil spill had not only saved their restoration sites, but had yielded a revolutionary bioremediation protocol, now being adapted for global use. More importantly, the crisis had forced a reckoning that transformed both their personal relationship and professional approach. Dr. Reed's open-source initiative ensures that all participating research teams have equal access to developing technologies, Harrison added. "While OceanTech maintains certain patents, we've established a licensing structure that prioritizes environmental application over profit." Philip Taylor, once their most vocal critic, nodded appreciatively. "The quarterly returns speak for themselves. Our reputation for sustainable innovation has attracted investors we couldn't reach before." After the meeting adjourned, Olivia found Harrison in what had once been her tiny office, now transformed into a glass-walled laboratory with state-of-the-art equipment. "Reminiscing?" she asked, joining him by the window overlooking the Pacific. "Remembering how you looked the first time I saw you, passionate, brilliant, and completely unimpressed by me." His smile was warm. It was terrifying. Terrifying. "I'd built walls around myself for so long," he admitted. Then suddenly, there was someone who could see right through them. The past months had brought changes neither could have predicted. Rasoon had stepped back from daily operations at OceanTech, appointing a new CEO while he focused on environmental initiatives. Olivia had accepted a position as scientific director of the coalition, leading research while maintaining her independence. Most significantly, they had stopped hiding their relationship. After their initial public acknowledgement, interest had flared briefly before fading, their work ultimately proving more newsworthy than their personal lives. Dr. Franklin wants to know if we're attending the Governor's Environmental Awards, Olivia said, checking her messages. The coalition is being recognized for innovation in marine conservation. I assume we are, though I'd rather be diving, Harrison replied. Speaking of which, the helicopter's ready when you are. The Japanese team reported unusual growth patterns at the northern site. Within the hour, they were airborne, the coastline unfolding beneath them. Their conversation shifted effortlessly. Between research parameters and personal plans, the boundaries between work and life comfortably blurred. My sister finally stopped asking when I'm getting a real job. Olivia laughed. She just wants to know when we're setting a wedding date. What did you tell her? That we're too busy saving oceans for conventional timelines? Harrison's expression grew thoughtful. Is that really your answer? The helicopter began its descent toward their destination, but Olivia sensed the conversation had shifted to deeper waters. Jessica thinks success means following a prescribed path, she explained. Marriage, suburban house, predictable career trajectory. But I've never wanted conventional success. What do you want? Harrison asked quietly. Olivia considered the question as they touched down on the research platform. Below them, the revitalized kelp forest swayed in crystal waters tangible. Proof that destruction could be reversed, that healing was possible even after devastating loss. This, she answered simply, making a difference. Building something meaningful. Her eyes met his. Having a partner who understands both the work and me. Harrison reached for her hand as they prepared to disembark. I have something for you. From his pocket, he withdrew not a ring as she momentarily feared, but a small glass vial containing what appeared to be sand. Iron-rich volcanic sediment, he explained. From the island where I grew up, watching my father's fishing grounds disappear. I've carried it for 20 years as a reminder of what was lost. Placed the vial in her palm, closing her fingers around it. Now it's a reminder of what can be restored. The gesture so personal, so perfectly aligned with who they both warmed her deeply. Some might have expected diamonds from a billionaire. Harrison knew Olivia valued something far more precious. Purpose shared. Later, asked. As they dove among the recovering kelp forests, Olivia marveled at how far they'd come. The once skeptical colleagues now led collaborative research teams. The corporate board that questioned their partnership now championed their approach. Even Emilio had returned to the project after. Olivia's transparency initiatives addressed his concerns, but most remarkable was the transformation within themselves. Harrison had discovered that vulnerability could be strength rather than weakness. Olivia had learned that independence didn't require isolation, as sunlight filtered through the kelp canopy above them, illuminating the thriving ecosystem they'd helped rebuild. Olivia realized they had created something extraordinary together, a partnership that honored their differences while celebrating their common purpose. When they surfaced, Harrison pulled her close in the gentle waves. "You never answered your sister's question," he reminded her. Olivia smiled. "Tell her we're already committed to the oceans, to the work, to each other. The rest is just paperwork." "Paperwork matters to some people," he pointed out, including occasionally me. "Harrison Wells, are you proposing a conventional milestone?" "There's nothing conventional about us, Dr. Reed." His eyes held hers. "I'm proposing we continue, building something extraordinary together, in whatever form that takes." As the research vessel approached to retrieve them, Olivia knew her answer. Like the kelp forests they've devoted themselves to preserving. Their relationship had weathered storms and emerged stronger, rooted in respect, nourished by shared purpose, and reaching always toward the light. "Yes," she said simply, "to whatever comes next." The Pacific stretched endlessly around them, its depths still largely unexplored. Its mysteries still waiting to be discovered, much like the journey they had only just begun.